great. It's kind of loud, right? I mean, is it? No, it's fine because we'll be talking.
I mean,
Can I make it?
already distracting.
Or made it just slightly lower. Well, up to you. Up to
Okay,
you.
this
You
is.
can
I think this is
you
fine.
can turn it off if you want.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going? Nice music.
Nice music. It's Saturday.
It is Saturday. It's not a.
Saturday.
But
It's
I mean,
not a Friday.
the program is still a product like it's Friday.
Yeah.
Coming to you on a Saturday.
Yes. Yes. We'll pretend it's a Friday.
We don't have to pretend. We can wallow, not in shame, just wallow in the day itself. You know.
Sounds good. So we're back, working on Who's Breakfast. Last time when we were here, we did some MongoDB exploring.
Yes.
Some what did you call it? Pseudocode?
Yeah. Within our actual code base to kind of get a feel of how we might use MongoDB, except none of it worked because
the server side doesn't. It's not talking.
Yeah.
Yet.
They're not talking. Yeah. Because of poor communication skills.
Yeah. I had homework to learn communication.
and word has it on the street that you love homework. That's what I watched previous episodes of Product News Friday, and in it, past Mary said,
I love getting homework.
All right, got it. All right, I misunderstood. Got it. You love getting homework. Okay, yeah.
Follow through is more hit or miss, I suppose.
Got it. The doing homework part,
Yeah.
uncertain.
I mean, yeah. I think it's. I did a little bit of homework.
Okay, yeah.
I think this time I'm just not like, if I had a checkbox for like what the homework is, I'm just not sure if I can confidently say I've done it. Because I don't know exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah.
But maybe I'll walk through what I think I need to do. So I guess what's a good place to start? I can share my IDE and talk through what I think I need to do. I don't think I've done it because I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Let's add. I need to add my virtual camera.
I like the music for like the dead time. Now it's like, okay, all right. It's still weird. It feels kind of weird because sometimes it feels like it becomes loud all of a sudden.
Oh no.
It's okay, I got it. Wait, no. I got it. Listen, I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Can you do me a favor and just zoom in once, please? Or like size. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, I'll also make this smaller because it's not important right now. I think I need to add. Okay, I did do this, I think. Or did I do this last time when we were here? I don't remember. I think I need to like save the location of the database in the environment, which is in this file. I was trying to mess around with Surf. And then I think I need to like use. I read something about mongoose, but I'm not sure if I really need it. This is the part where I did not dive too deep into what that is.
Okay, all right.
And I need to create like API route. I don't have anything here, but like my understanding is that this is where I would write like the function, I guess, for fetching the object. Not sure if I'm using the right words.
Okay. How did you determine that you had to do that?
A lot of Googling. Some reading of like the Nuxt docs. Although I don't think I fully understand the docs. But
well, load up the docs then, and let's create a scenario where you can switch back and forth easily between the browser docs and your IDE, and then we'll take it step by step.
Yeah, I have the docs here.
Okay, can we also,
yes,
just for the old people in the back, which is me. Okay, so
I don't know if this is the right place to look at.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but let's say maybe this could be. If you scroll up, I guess there's a few ways to go about it, and I will do this sort of in an annoyingly slow, not quite Socratic, but I don't know if there's another word for the technique or questions I'm using, but okay, fine. So let's say you do land on this page, you search for, hey, I need a server side with Nuxt. You land here, you take a quick glance at this page. What should be your next instinct from this point?
To try something here.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Like this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Server API. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna, I guess, ignore this for now. What was it called? Hello. Would you recommend like just, I don't know, putting something on my index file or somewhere else?
Yeah,
like, testing
index file works great. Yeah, like as long as we can load the page and it's functional, whatever page loads first, it's fine.
But I don't know what it's supposed to do. I guess.
Okay, so what?
Okay. Like, I don't know, like, where should I put it? It just doesn't matter.
Let's see.
Oh, I need to probably comment this out because it's not doing any good. And oh man. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here it is. I guess.
Okay.
Is that what it's supposed
to? Well, we don't know what it's supposed to do. We know what it is doing. And let's kind of review the code that you've inserted here. We can start either way on the server or the client side. For our purposes here, maybe let's start on the client side and kind of work our way to try and get an understanding of what's happening here, right? So, and again, I ask, this is obvious right in front of the eyes, but I ask this question just to get you into the, the habit process of just like running through it. So what lines did we add? I know it's obvious. I just want you to say it out loud.
The script defining, I guess, the API call. Is that endpoint? Is that the right?
No, that's actually very wrong. What you said was very wrong. And I like, which is why, like, like I'm kind of chipping away at the mental models here, right? So we're not defining anything here. We haven't defined anything. We're sorry, we've defined the data constant, but we haven't defined the endpoint, which is kind of what you, along the lines of what you were saying, which is like, oh, we're defining the, well, no, that's not what we're doing here. What is this line doing, do you think? You just read out the line. Just read out the line, just for practice, right?
We defined the data constant as, what does await mean?
Okay, yeah, we'll cover await in a second, but let's maybe ignore await.
As, I guess, fetching this file or what's in this file.
Yeah, that's close, but not quite precise. And let's try and see if you can guess/determine the precision. One more try. I know this is a painful process. I'm sorry, but like, let's see if you can kind of grasp the precision. If not, I'll let you know. So it's not calling that file per se. What is it precisely doing?
It's, I want to look at the file.
No, you don't have to look at the file. We're right in this one. We don't have to go anywhere to kind of try and guess or have a good guess as what's happening here.
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So the reason why I'm pushing this is precisely because as we're learning certain things, we develop vague mental models of what might be happening, right? So now in this case, because in the setup, the use fetch call was done in sort of conjunction with the backend API route, you want to instinctively make the connection that useFetch is calling that file. But that's not like precisely what's happening. And precision does matter because when you switch to a different context in which this kind of thing is happening, there's a lot of happens to versus is. And let me explain. So the way I would largely describe this line in a very sort of like glancy way is we're fetching the hello API endpoint and storing it, the response in the data variable, right? I didn't reference anything external here. I didn't reference anything like no extra knowledge is needed here, not just because whether it's accurate or not, but because literally your client doesn't technically know about your backend. It just knows about this HTTP endpoint or this API endpoint. It doesn't know about the file. Theoretically, that could be served from that file, which in case it happens to now be served from that file. But /API/hello could point to any endpoint. It could, maybe it's an endpoint on a different server. We don't have access to the file. Maybe it's something else. On the client side, we don't know. But what we do know is we're hitting /API/hello. We're fetching /API/hello, and we're storing the response in the data variable. Does that make sense in terms of the way, like, like especially the kind of the painstaking way, like I'm asking the question is precisely because it helps me determine what potential mental models you're forming, and then the contrast of where the gaps are, and then how you ideally want to process lines as you go. Now let's use the ask aspect of our AI friend to determine what await means.
Oh, this?
Yeah, because you had a question earlier saying, what's await?
Wait, can I just...
Oh, that's interesting.
read this?
It's tagged. Sorry, you could read it. Yeah, but I think asking the AI is also pretty helpful in this case. But what's interesting though is I don't know why or how, but it's because you're on this line.
Yeah.
It's like at index view L6. So it's kind of
what does await mean? I don't like how long the responses are.
Yeah.
I just
you could probably just read the first line and we'll
process
I'll fill in certain gaps here.
Function until a promise resolves. Okay.
So one thing to, and here there might be a mild history lesson here, but different languages work in different ways when they make certain calls. I know that's very generic. However, one thing to note about JavaScript is that it was born in a browser environment, and then it was later extracted to function server side or in other places. But its primary function is to do things in the browser, like modify HTML. At least early on, was to do some code processing in the browser, modify HTML, and respond to user events. What this means is that technically, things are happening concurrently in the browser, so it's not always sequential sort of processing of code. And so when, for example, certain, I don't want to say external, but when certain calls are made, if you scroll back up to in your, so it says await pauses for the execution of an async function until a promise is resolved, then returns the resolved value. This is very, like, like it's something that you'd have to watch a YouTube video for or read a book to kind of really delve into what's happening here. I recommend you do that in order to really grasp JavaScript and its nuances. But in effect, what's happening is the code execution pauses at this stage because, and it doesn't happen for everything, but it happens for certain calls that are made. So when you make a HTTP call, as we're doing here, the execution pauses in this function, which also allows other functions to run that might have been running concurrently. Because in a browser, for example, if you click a button twice, now you might have some function that triggers on the button click, but while this function is paused, the other function might run. And then when the result comes back, so in order to not kind of block everything in the browser, when certain actions are happening, we have this idea of a promise. So you run a function, it promises a value, and then it keeps on running. Now, if you did not have a wait there, your function would immediately continue running the rest of the code, which doesn't make sense because we don't, we're so used to sequential, like every line runs completely. But in JavaScript, that's not always the case. Certain functions return a promise that, hey, I promise I'll get you back a value at some point. So it's sort of like saying, okay, I'm going to make a call to the server and I'll promise I'll get you a value or an error. This is also the case when you read from file often. And there's some other cases too where you kind of get a promise instead of a response immediately, because you have to wait. We don't know how long the server will take. We don't know how long the disk will take to return the data, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the cases where you get a promise. Now, await is a way to wait for the promise. So if you don't type in await, it's going to make the API call and then start running the rest of your code. You don't have to fully understand what's happening right now. Just know that I said many words. And then eventually...
So, when would you...
So this example, without await. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted that, but go ahead.
I guess I'm trying to understand, when would you use this?
Yeah.
Versus this.
You would use it when you don't immediately need to work with the response data. So imagine, let's say that you have to call 3 different APIs endpoints, but you don't necessarily have to wait for all of them to finish before you don't have to wait for the first one to finish to call the next one. These are kind of pieces of data that you could request simultaneously.
I see.
And then when the responses come back, you could do something with them. So although at our level of writing code, we should always use await and always await our promised functions, because it's a rare case where we're trying to optimize for speed in that manner. When we do get there, then we can adjust it. But yeah, sometimes you want to deal with the promise of a response and not just the response itself. Precisely what you want to concurrently call multiple endpoints or do whatever. And then once all of the responses are back, then you continue with the code execution.
Okay.
This is actually one of the reasons why when we were learning coding, I purposely did not start with JavaScript. Because in Ruby, if you recall, when you make an API call, just do it, and the code naturally just waits. But there's benefits and downsides to that. It means that your CPU is not doing anything else at that point in time. It's just waiting for this response. But it could be doing other things. It could be running other functions. It could be running other things. And so JavaScript, because most likely that it was born in a browser environment where multiple things are happening simultaneously, was designed to leverage that pattern. Okay, so can we go back to the browser, please?
Yes.
And then let's see if we can't open the in our app, open up the console, and I want to take a look at the network tab to see if a network call was made. Now, I'm not sure that we will see it necessarily, but we might. Go ahead and click on the network tab, please. There's a few reasons why we may or may not see something. Click on the fetch XHR, so like the Ajax calls, and then go ahead and refresh the page. So we may or may not see a call to API hello. In this case, we don't, and that's because the way Nux is set up is on the first page load, it tries to run everything server side and then return the HTML alongside the JavaScript. Let's disable that just so I want it to kind of register in your heart in a different way. So I'm going to just see how we can disable server-side rendering. Okay. If you go back to your IDE, and then there's a file called nux.config.ts, I suppose. And then here, maybe just even within the defined config, so on line 3, so create a new line 3 for yourself. And then you're going to type in SSR : false, and then comma. So we're saying, okay, server side rendering, let's, okay, and then restart your server just in case. Usually it's fine. Like even when we first added the API, I'm not sure in that first instance whether we did need to restart the server or not, although I guess you already had it stopped, so we didn't have to deal with that. But in this case, typically when you're changing your Nux config files, it's safer to restart, though sometimes it does reload properly. Because the worst thing is you come back, you do something, and then it doesn't work. Okay, now, great. Let's clear everything here just so we can see it load again. Let's clear stuff for the console and then refresh, please. Great. So now, because everything is not happening server side on that first load, we're seeing that Ajax call happen in the browser. And if you go ahead and click on hello, right there in the there, perfect. And let's drag this window so it becomes a bit larger. The other one, the global one, I guess. Like, yeah, there you go. Okay, great. So now we can kind of dissect what's happening here. That piece of code made a GET request to localhost 3000/API/hello. So trying to tie together like what that piece of code on the client side did and what happened in the browser. So we haven't even touched server side yet. Like we'll get there in a few seconds, but I just want to strongly register, like the reason why I was being precise about what is happening here is because under the scenes, this is happening. A GET request has been made to that API endpoint. And then because we're waiting for the response to come in. And then the response is, the status code of the response is a 200. Okay. And then you can additionally take a look at the response body by clicking the preview or the response tabs here. And so, yeah, you just get back this. So response is like kind of the raw text that you get back. And then preview is sort of like the more JSON navigatable, collapsible, easy to sort of work with. But if you go on response for now, we get some JSON back from the server, right? And now we're ready. Now we're ready to go back to the server side of the code and maybe try and dissect what's happening here. So when you hit the /API/hello endpoint server side, Nuxt basically listens to the /API request coming to the Nuxt server and sees, hey, do I have a server /API/blah file to respond to this? And says, oh, I do. Let me run that function and then return whatever this function returns. Okay. So there's two disconnected things. Like what you typed in the client side is technically disconnected from the server side, but is tied together by the call that the browser makes. And Nuxt happens to listen to /API. So it's not directly calling that file. Like that's why the whole reason we spent like half an hour on this, I guess, is really to like really sort of make the flow a bit clearer in terms of what's really happening. So while yes, it is getting the results from that file, that's not what the browser code is doing. The browser code is just making an HTTP call. And then this Nux server side is responding to that HTTP call. Let's try a few more things. Let's go back to the browser side and go to your hello call. We're not seeing the browser in the screen, Mary.
No.
There we go. And go on the headers tab here. So we're on the response tab. And then where it says request URL, let's copy the entire request URL.
This one?
Yeah, sorry, your mouse is not shared because of your setup, which we should work on. We should work on correcting this because it's, if it's unclear for me, it's also unclear for the thousands of viewers that we have. Okay, so yes, this is precisely what I wanted is, let's go try it in the browser is just a request, right? And voila. So, and just to test this further, again, not necessarily, but I really want to kind of help you internalize some of this stuff, is let's go ahead and copy our hello.ts file server side and create a bye.ts file.
Oh, okay. Wait, can you duplicate?
Yeah, I think you should be able to right click and copy or something. I think you might even be able to do like Command C, Command V on the file once you click on it. And then let's modify that. Great. And then let's modify the body accordingly. Not sure why we got a gray overlay. Okay, it's gone.
So what am I doing?
You're modifying this body accordingly.
Oh, okay. Bye.
And let's make sure we've saved everything here. Great. And you'll see that moment you saved it, it restarted or redid something. It says server built in 287 milliseconds right at the bottom line there.
Yeah.
After you saved. Okay. What do you think we're going to do next?
Do this business?
Wrong.
Check it in the browser?
Yes, because the whole point of this was to disconnect the two, right?
Mm.
I was like, I really want you to internalize that, like adding a server thing doesn't mean a client thing comes next necessarily. Because theoretically, you could be adding an API endpoint that you give to somebody else to deal with that you yourself never call in your client code. It's just a server.
Interesting. So it's like you can almost like prepare them ahead of time of before using them.
You could have different developers working on front end and back end, et cetera, et cetera. So it literally is a disconnected front end and back end, but Nux kind of simplifies it for you, right? Because if you were to build an API backend yourself, you would have to use Node, Express, have a different directory, figure out Express, and like do all the things. But hey, Nux is like, we kind of want to make this, simplify this for you, so we're making it available. Now, what that does for certain learning processes is like you make connections that aren't necessarily true. Like, oh, you know, like whenever I make an API thing, it's the use fetch is directly reading from the file. That might be a connection you make because to the end user, it's kind of invisible, right? It feels like it is reading from the file. Yeah, so I wanted to purposely create the bye-bye file to demonstrate that all that does is make something accessible API server side. And then you could choose to use it in your front end by this use fetch call, which Nux also provides. The raw the raw JavaScript for a fetch call is actually just the fetch method. But Node makes it, sorry, Nux makes it a bit simpler by giving you more things that can happen with, yeah, I'm trying to be vague. You could do more things with the use fetch call than you can do with the raw fetch method.
Interesting.
It makes things more reactive versus kind of imperative in the programming thing. You don't understand all those words.
I'm like, what does that mean?
They have meanings. You don't need to know.
I know they are words.
Yes. You don't have to know. I just want to be accurate, but you don't have to dig into everything. Okay. So now we've done so see, like, this part moving forward, when you come across something like this in a homework situation. So now maybe I don't expect you on your own necessarily to figure out that with what you have, that the back end and front end are disconnected in some way. Like, that's what I can offer. But given the example, you should be able to reproduce this scenario, right? Like, there's always a hesitancy of, I don't understand. I don't know what this is supposed to do. It's all natural. We all go through that. But you want to break through the hesitancy by trying out the very simplest version of what's being offered. And yeah, you might make some, like, connections that aren't there, but at least you got it working, which is still important, because you don't have to know all that magic stuff that's happening in the background in order to get it working, right? Like, you could have still gone in, forward from here, tried to make MongoDB work, gotten the MongoDB actions running, and then hallelujah, without kind of understanding the details of the HTTP calls, et cetera. But that is a skill to break through, like, I don't understand what I'm typing. I don't understand. But, like, just try the example, see what happens. And maybe it fails, maybe you make a typo. Okay, no problem. Like, that's a different thing. But in this case, we one-shotted the hello API. We got the response. Everything worked. Which does allow you to move forward. I think one other thing that is hyper underrated, especially in our AI world, is if you scroll down, and I'm curious to see what it looks like. So if you scroll on this page, it says, watch a video from View School on API routes. Now, I know View School is like something they're probably also selling. Because I know View School has like other courses on View as well, but in this case, they have that readily available. And this might at least kind of give you a preview of what's going to happen. And it takes away some of that anxiety of, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then additionally, like, going to YouTube and saying Nux server routes and looking for a tutorial that's maybe just even 5 minutes long. So you don't want something too long, but something long enough where they explain certain key points. And that's all you really need, those 5 minutes. And you're like, okay, well, you're going to watch it and you're still not going to understand. But at least, look, you're not going to, like, you will, some things you'll understand first try, other things you might not. And that's also fine. But at least you've done some level of work to reduce, like, certain levels of hesitancy and anxiety. And then, bam, you try it. So either you try it right away, or you try it right away, you get an error, or you watch the video first. Whatever combo works, I'm saying is like, but you got to find ways of kind of navigating docs in this manner. It's like, okay, you're not going to know most of the things that you're going to try. And that's sort of the thrill of, if you could call it that, the thrill of learning how to code and piece together all these things.
Do I need to know what these are?
What's these?
Like the routes and
Sorry,
the
because don't know. Okay, yeah. I think it's explaining what's happening in the back end. Like, Nux will automatically read any file. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it is you. Yeah, we will eventually need to know. Yes, but we don't need to know right now. The advantage of gleaning certain things as you look at docs is, even though you might not understand fully, you build kind of an index in your mind of like, oh, so in the future when we need something, and I'm not going to say what because we will need it in the future, and we will come back to these docs, and we will deal with middleware. And, so I kind of want to leave that open. But for now, I think it's, once we got what we kind of need, I think that's good enough. But I wouldn't kind of discourage you from kind of glancing over some extras to see what's going on. Cool. Any questions or comments or complaints?
No, not right now.
Okay, cool.
Also, I totally missed this is a video.
Yes, watch a video, it says reviews. But which helps, right? But that's even if it's not there, YouTube is a great resource, amazing resource. There's also blog posts that kind of make it a bit more like connectable. But I find videos are more direct because like you'll probably see someone place the patches of code in different places, explain high level, and then now you can kind of repeat after me situation as you're learning without having to, like the other part is like AI just doing it for you, which then you don't like, that's more, you kind of distance yourself from understanding. But in this case, it's like, okay, you're sort of building a better understanding of what might be happening. There are a few gotchas here. So when I said we're making a GET request, do you know what other types of requests there are? Do you remember? Because you should know, but do you remember?
There's post.
Yes, and you should remember this because your file was named game.post.ts. I'm not sure where you got that from. I was curious. But I don't know how that works. So right now, I'm actually just looking for myself. Is like, there's a few things we can learn here. And ideally, when you're on your own, you get these through sort of like reading through the docs in a bit more detail. But maybe we can try and figure a few of these things out. So one thing I don't know is okay, yeah, let's dig in a little bit more here. Let's go back to the IDE and let's ask AI a question, which is, so right now what's happening is when you do the use fetch, it's making a get call. So the question is, okay, well, how do I make a post call if I want to? And that's the question we'll ask is, how do we make a post request with use fetch? And again, we're doing this here because we're in sort of this environment. But typically, my assumption is that when you would watch even a 5-minute video on this, it would, like the video would cover what you're doing. Like if you watch a tutorial on this, like a quick tutorial, it will probably cover all of this, right? Like, and that way you wouldn't know, like, because one thing you might ask is like, hey, Adnan, how would I even know to ask that question? Like about post. And you wouldn't know. That's the whole point of learning. You wouldn't know. And so, which is why those tutorials are super helpful, because generally a tutorial on, I would expect a decent tutorial on Nuxt API will cover get, post, and some other basics, right? So that way you kind of doing this back and forth between watching these tutorials, experimenting with the code. But because it's not great content to ask you to watch the tutorial now, which is why we use AI. So now we know that we can make a a post request by passing in an object after API endpoint. Let's do that. Well, we don't have to pass in a body just yet. Let's convert this API by get request. So by default, we know that useFetch does get, it seems. And then when we explicitly want to make a post call, but don't run anything just yet. Just stay here in the moment with this. What are we, when we run the code now, what will we be testing?
To see if it's a post request instead of a get.
Yes, but there's one more thing.
Where is it? Okay. Where is it getting posted to?
Yes, although we should be fairly, we should know that it's going to post to API by, right? So it's going to post to some, localhost API by, which isn't the file necessarily, it happens to be the file. But okay, so again, this is one of the cases where, I don't expect you to necessarily know the answer per se, but I want you to struggle with it, is we're testing whether the file naming structure, like for example, if I did by.ts, we know based on the first example we ran, the useFetch does a get by default, and then by.ts responds to a get request by default. So we're testing a few things here. Now, when we do method post in the browser, we should see method post. That's one thing. But number two, does by.ts by default respond to a post call as well? We know it responds to get. But so we're testing both client side and server side in this case is, hey, will this even work? Because does by default by.ts only respond to get requests? So let's go ahead and test that. And then we'll do a few other things to learn about what's happening here.
But if it's okay.
No, go ahead.
If it's a post request, does this need to change?
We don't know. We're going to test it.
Okay.
So purposely, we're not doing too much because we're literally, this is how I would approach, this is how I am approaching it, actually. I don't know the nuances of this. I haven't used this stuff before. If you will remember in our streams, I had used something called TRPC to do the backend stuff, which leverages this stuff, but I didn't have to learn it. So let's see, what is the request method? So because I don't know your mouse, okay, there you go. Request method is post, and we get a 200, and let's do a preview. So we didn't have to change. So it turns out by default, the file responds to both get and post requests, and presumably other requests as well. There's things like put, delete, etc. Now, let's play around with it. Because I'm curious to see where you got that .post learning. But and again, the type of experimentation we can do even with a little bit of knowledge here is this. And I'm doing this so this deeper understanding, so that right now, because Nux is handling so much for us by magic, we don't run into it. But yeah, so you're already, this is actually not exactly what I was going to ask you to do.
Okay.
I was going to ask you to change the file name, but not to post.
Oh, interesting.
We're testing, right? Yeah. So the question is, if I name, because now with this, you would be you'd get positive confirmation and have learned little. By doing this, we'll get potential. Does that even do anything? So I'd expect it to not work.
Oh, it doesn't like it. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So
what happened?
So wait, did we get a 200? Something bad happened. Clearly, we don't see the thing. But let's see preview. in response. So, okay, yeah, seems like an error happened. And that's the error page there. And it didn't like what happened there. So when we made a post request to the get explicit get call, it didn't work. Let's refresh just to double check. Yeah, seems like the page didn't load, even though we're getting a 200. Ideally, we would have gotten like a 500 or some kind of error. Now let's just play around. Yeah, let's change this to get. Let's do this. I know that in typing that you've done this before, and you'll be like, this is the kind of stuff I do notice, which is you had typed in post with a capital P, but lowercase ost, and then you kind of corrected it, which is great actually. But let's quickly test it out. Now we're doing it intentionally. Like, will it still work? Let's all do lowercase get or mixed case get. Let's see. And part of this whole exercise or this whole pattern, today's lesson, let's just say, is about being intentional about the discovery, right? There's a reason why we did get, to break it first. And then like, at first we want to copy precisely, like we want post to be all caps because that's what the example was. So that's great that you caught that and corrected it. But your second instinct should also be, hey, I want to test whether it works in lowercase.
Do that.
Yeah, I feel like then then you have this idea of like what's actually happening versus assuming all the time around you. You don't have to do it. I'm just saying, like, that's typically how I approach it. And then now I have like a broader understanding of like, oh, it does work with this. Oh, when I name this to get, it doesn't work. Oh, it's blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, now I'm like prepped a little bit, like with, maybe you spent an extra 10, 20 minutes kind of getting the texture of the APIs we're using. And now I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know. You don't have to.
What if... Oh, wait, but like, do I need to...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, say it.
Do I need to type, like, what if I have a buy.get and a buy.post? Like, do I need to specify?
When you say I need to specify, like, I'm not sure where or what.
In the use fetch.
Try it out.
Yeah, it's a get. Like, oops, I can't spell.
Okay, so that's interesting. And this is super interesting to me because you're doing what's a very natural thing, but oddly enough, and this may sound rude, it goes against everything we learned in the last 10 minutes.
Wait, why?
Let's see if you can figure it out. The answer's right in front of you. You already done it. That's why it's so interesting to me. It's like you've already done it. And it's almost like this
what?
regression to like, oh, could it be something like this? Okay, here, I'll even guide you through it. Command Z. Keep pressing it. This is how you do a GET request, not .get in your API endpoint.
Okay.
But your instinct was to still be like, oh, if I need to specify how to do a GET, when everything was gone, you were like, do I do a .get?
I meant,
you know what I mean?
I meant like if I have like a buy dot, like let's say I have like
and by the way, this is what I was gonna suggest. Obviously, is like, let's try it. Let's do it. Right?
Then in here.
Sorry, I'm just gonna ask you to do one more thing, and here's the technique: is you've set yourself up for potential misdirection. Do you know why?
No.
your get and post do the exact same thing. So you would double check and you would know potentially the difference. So maybe let's change the contents of what they respond with. Now, there's other ways, but ideally when you're doing this kind of discovery, you want to develop that instinct of like it can't be like you want, let's be explicit, let's be intentional. So this whole kind of distinction here is about like intentional learning in the coding space.
I'm gonna make this cap.
Yes, but I'd like you to do one thing even before all of this. Can you remove the options object here?
Wait, what?
The options object. So we're passing in extra options to use fetch. And our options object has method get in it. Let's remove that object. And then do a dot get in the URL. And let's see what happens. Because that was instinctual, like you typed in dot get. And I'm not 100% sure that the point I was trying to make was, but like this was your instinct. Like after having done the method get, method post business, when all of that was gone, I found it interesting that your instinct was to do by.get. Now let's see what happens when you do by.get. Do you have a feeling of what might happen? I think it's already happened.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, interesting.
Now do a by.post. And check the by.post.
Okay, so like if I...
Sorry, we're not seeing your IDE at this stage.
I just reverted to like using the method. Okay, so it's pulling the .get endpoint.
Yeah, but sorry to sort of put a kind of like to reemphasize, but I do want to emphasize it because it is one of these learning patterns. Is again, we went through the whole exercise of using method to specify the method. And then once you had removed it, you were like, well, how do I specify? Do I do .get? You know what I mean? So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, where did all the modify the method we did just 30 seconds ago go? You know what I mean? Like, what you did is very natural, but I want you to be aware of this. Like if, like the similar thing from the last series or the last episode was you did the MongoDB stuff very precisely in the console, the MongoDB console. And then when it came to doing something similar in it, you kind of followed your heart into creating a function name that didn't exist, even though 3 minutes prior, you had literally called a very precise, fetch one method. But when it came to this other context, all of a sudden it was lost. I just want you to be hyper aware of these things. I think doing it is very natural. So I'm not trying to be like, oh, whatever, that's fine. But I want you to be hyper aware. Like literally you went through how to edit and how to specify methods. And the moment you deleted it, it almost went like, it kind of went away. And you were like, if I have two different files, how do I do it? And then you were like, is it .get? Because you're trying to make this is why programming is so fascinating, because you're constantly trying to make connections in your mind as to what might be happening. And the connection you made is very natural. The file is named by.get. So why doesn't by.get work in the URL? Or why it should work, right? It actually shouldn't, because these two things are disconnected. It's precisely why we spent the first half hour being like, it's not connected. There's no connection to the file and the call. In the client, all you're doing is you're making a call to an endpoint. It could be anything. And
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it almost doesn't matter if the file has the get or not. Like it's like what matters more here is the method.
Yes and no. It depends on what your intentions as a programmer. I think when you are initially doing this work, I would not a .get or a .post. I wouldn't try to be like necessarily more specific. But there are instances where you only want .post to work because you don't want a get request to the by endpoint for whatever reason. Like it doesn't do anything. Like certain endpoints only do a post. or only should work with a post. And maybe we do that here just for properness. The idea there is, so a lot of times people don't do it. Excuse me. But if you go on this page here, I'll send in the chat. And once you have that up, scroll down to the part where it's talking about .get, .post, etc. It's kind of matching HTTP method is the section under recipes. So it says handle file names can be suffixed with, and then it says to match request HTTP method. Go ahead and click on that link. And note that it brings you to Mozilla, the kind of, and the base HTTP reference docs. So this is like, these are internet docs technically, and they describe what the intention behind these things are. So it says request using get should only retrieve data and should not contain a request content. I actually don't off the top of my head know what that means, but the idea here is, well, I don't know what the request content stuff means specifically, but the idea here is get request should only retrieve data. And then if you see post is often causing a change in state or side effect on the server. A put method replaces representations and a delete deletes. So theoretically, you could use get request to retrieve data, to update data, to delete data, to create data. But you could do it. It will work. But the intentionality here is that when you are retrieving data, you use get. When you are posting data in order to create, you use post. When you update data, you use put. And when you delete data, you use delete. I think that or like patch, there's more methods like options and patch are used for different things. I think that at a base beginning level, that get and post are probably decent enough. So like get is for retrieving data only. We don't make changes to the server state with get. And then post is for, you could use it for update, delete, like insert or create. You could be more specific, but at this stage it's not really necessary. But the get and post distinction is pretty good, important, because the idea is that I should be able to make a get request without fearing that I've broken something server side or changed something server side. And when you make a post request, it's like, hey, we're changing something. And you still retrieve data with a post, but the idea is that like it does modification and retrieves it. So,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a deep dive into HTTP here. You know, like technically we could have moved forward without the entire HTTP lesson, but I think it is interesting to know what's actually happening. So, that we're not always making certain like misconnections, let's just say. How do you feel about the deep dive? Are you like, okay, that's good? Or are you like, oh man, I just wanted to create a game on the back end and now we spend an hour just discussing HTTP?
No, I appreciate it. I think a big part of my hesitancy is when I'm like, I don't know what is happening. That makes me feel less willing to try things.
Absolutely.
So I get it. I think understanding a little bit more definitely helps.
But I still want to challenge you. You don't have to understand all that. Like we did it because, like, again, I like this level. Like this is the style of learning that I typically do. Like, you know, like, oh, the negative test, right? Like what happens if I, change by.post? I don't, like I'm not always looking for positive confirmations. I'm also looking for negative confirmations. I think that style of learning is super important. Like, which is why we first changed it to by.get, even though our method was post, because we wanted to see if the server did what it ought to do, and not return that, which is great, right? Like, so that aspect of learning. But the flip side is also, you don't have to know everything to be able to do a get request and a post request, like, to be able to try. So, and we get over that by watching YouTube videos, tutorials that are specific to the thing we're doing. And guaranteed, if later on, if you do like a next routes tutorial on YouTube, you'll find something that will be short and comprehensive both, and will cover most of what we went through here in a condensed period of time. And then you just have to repeat after them, bit by bit. Another recommendation, sometimes it gets very unwieldy when you're doing things in your own project. So feel free to create a whole new Nuxt app to try just that one bit. Because in here, what we risked was kind of like mishmashing the example code with your own code. And if something odd did happen, then you'd be like, oh, this doesn't work. When it does work, but maybe you, like, because it's not precise to the example. In this case, all the bits were fairly standard. And so I was like, I think it's fine. But I do want to offer you that as a technique by default, if you do it in your own app, it doesn't work. That's not confirmation of whether it works or not. It's more like maybe you have misplaced something in the code or in the HTML, and having a fresh app to try it on quickly is like helps you kind of isolate what's going on. What's your appetite? Is your appetite to try Mongo and have like save something in the database?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So even though I thought I prepared by going to the washroom pre-stream,
Please go.
You thought you were going to ask for something. You thought I was going to talk about something else.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, I can't believe this. It's because I've been hydrating. Look.
No, hydration is important.
It's because I've been, and coffee is hydration too, it turns out. So I'm in that situation. In the meanwhile, I guess for you to kind of figure out the MongoDB/Mongoose/ hey, what to do stuff, and I shall return momentarily. And maybe commit what we have thus far or not, depending on or remove things. Sorry, I'm just sound right now, but either remove the stuff or maybe commit a basic API endpoints, or just even sometimes creating these
I want to keep this
as
a reminder.
Yeah, exactly, precisely. Or what's also nice is you have the example in a separate page. So here we have index, but you could just have a test page. And I do this in apps that I kind of play around with, is let me just put that in a test page, and then I just have this test code there. And that way you could commit. You could have a nice commit based on what we've learned.
Okay. This music is really picking up. Oh, I cannot spell. Do I need any of this? I don't think so. Okay, let me just add comment. So. Oh. How do you comment? Comment syntax. Oh, it's something like that. Wait. Oh, that's stupid. That's good. Oh wait. Should I do that? Okay, let's see if it works. What would be the URL for this test? Oh, I'm not sharing the right screen. Okay, let's see. Should be test. Nice. Okay, cool. I think that's good. I will get rid of hello. Okay. Okay, what was I doing?
Do we finish MongoDB? Is it done?
No, I just separated the test stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Let me just. I don't think I want to stage that. I guess it doesn't matter.
By the way, we can't see. Seems like you're clicking somewhere, but we can't see on your screen. So obviously, I mean, I did say the whole like open a new app to test, but obviously you could just create a new page, which is a lot easier. So that's, but sometimes you do actually need to make a new app depending on how complex your setup is.
Testing. Cool. All right. Did any of the things I said about like do I actually need Mongoose? Let me just read into it.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Fine. Oh, look.
We absolutely need a mongoose because sometimes you need a manimal that's carnivorous with the ability to hunt snakes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Sorry, I retract my statement. We absolutely need mongoose.
It's so cute too.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not this one. Okay. I guess I need to be more specific.
I would. So here's where maybe I might offer you something here, which is I think this is being too specific sometimes. What is your goal?
My goal.
Yeah, your goal is not to use mongoose, right? Per se. Although we might end up doing it, I don't know.
My goal is to connect MongoDB to the server side.
Yeah. But specifically also connect is a good word, but initially kind of like you want to store something in MongoDB via JavaScript. So let's type that in. So like, so your search, like, how do I, blah, blah, blah. And the Google AI might help you out here, or we might find a tutorial or whatever, right? Like,
I've been adding Nuxt. Do you think that's
Nuxt is good, or JavaScript or Node. Nuxt might be here's something, because like Nuxt might be too specific, because theoretically you could be using anything, right? Like once after a certain point, it's all just code. So, but Nuxt server side is effectively Node, if that's so. And as the AI is kind of indicating here, is typically use a Node.js backend because you wouldn't be doing it client side, and then you would use a library. Sorry, why did you add local?
I guess because we're not using the Atlas thing. I don't know if that's relevant.
Maybe. Oh, okay. Yes and no, probably. Yeah, local's good. Local's good. And here the AI might guide you through it, like Google's Gemini. So here, it's not asked us to use Mongoose in this case. It's kind of just saying, hey, npm install MongoDB and just use the MongoDB library. And
sounds good.
Yeah. Our next instinct is to test this out.
Yeah. Okay, so should I guess I can test this separately. I think.
What does that mean? Test is separate from what?
I don't know, from the rest of it.
Sorry, now I think I know what you're saying, but I would love for you to be more precise. So you said I could test it separately, and I said from what, and you said from the rest of it. So the whole train is like very vague in terms of words. So could you be more precise, please?
Like separate from the game so far, I guess.
Yeah. Separate from the game works. Technically, you have a place to put, node code, which is in a API call. You know that you can make an API call directly through the browser. So, and like I said, ideally we use get only to do fetch or retrieve data and not change data, but that's not a learning restriction, right? Because so here's how to leverage the tooling around you. There's more ways to do this, by the way, command line, but why get into it? Because you already have a way that's instantly accessible. One is you create an API file, and now you can run that code in there through the browser anytime you want, just by visiting the endpoint, right? And then you could write to the database in that endpoint. Nobody's stopping you. Because if you're just testing to see if this patch of code works, then leverage that as a thing. So yeah, go ahead and see what you can.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know TypeScript.
Yeah. So what, Mary? Sorry. Right, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess. So yeah, go ahead and do what you're gonna do. I wouldn't use JS necessarily.
No.
I would ask you to continue to. Sorry, I know it is adding an extra layer, but I will highly recommend to make that TS.
But
Mm-hmm.
But I don't I don't know what the difference is. And
isn't that too bad? I'll offer you. I'll cover a few things, but I just want to see where you're going with it for now.
I just Googled TypeScript versus JavaScript.
Okay, that's another 1 hour or like a 10-hour stream, to be honest.
Okay.
But for now, like, I guess try and proceed with insert data as like what you were intending to do here. And maybe let's not think about the TypeScript JavaScript part, and I'll step in at a certain point if necessary.
Like, can I just copy what was on Gemini?
So I had a sense that might be your instinct. But you could do better. You could do it slightly better in a few different ways. One thing I'll strictly offer you now is that would have led you to a very unhappy path, because your starting point here, you might have gotten there eventually, but because you haven't, or you might have been thinking it, but because you haven't been explicit about it, I'm pointing it out, is you always want, like, server API files should always follow a certain path or a certain pattern when you start them. They should almost never be blank when you start them. Do you know why? You're looking at it. You're looking at the answer because, like, their base function is to return or process requests or events. You gotta copy paste the stuff to start and test whether your endpoint works, because otherwise you've effectively created a new file, pasted code in it, and then what? Like, you've almost set yourself up for failure. You have to treat every API file as an endpoint that you know works first, base level, every time.
Okay.
Yeah, but to be more precise and specific, use the name of the file. So, like, like, because you might have, because like just for visual thing, and then test it. Just because we did it doesn't mean it works, or it works like we thought. Test it in the browser, since you just need an endpoint in the browser, right? So you want to follow the same pattern. Sorry, can you test it in the browser, please? Not in your client code, but in the browser directly.
You can
because again, like, right, we're shortcutting, right? You don't have to modify more code in order to test it. You immediate insta test. Oh, we can't see your browser.
Oh, whoops. Wait, I don't remember. I don't remember what the thing was.
Yes. You should, as we do this is one of the things you should know, like the back of your hand.
Okay, let me go here to look at, okay, it's API.
Yeah.
API slash set data.
Okay, great, it works. And now, right, you have a test bed already. So now you know it works, because otherwise you're pasting code in, it's not working, and you're like, what is it? And now you're Googling something, and Google's telling you an eighth thing, and you're like 3 hours in, and you're like, what's going on? Which is why, like, these very base level patterns, you have to set yourself up for success. Okay, so that's one thing. Number two, let's go back to our Google search. So this whole exercise, as we're doing initial Mongo stuff, just use this for testing. Like, you're going to go back, you're going to change some code, you're going to refresh that insert data page. We're not going to use, like, client side, server side. We're just going to use browser direct heading. Scroll up, please. So instead of typing local JavaScript, can you guess what I'm going to ask you to do here?
TypeScript?
Yeah. Because look, if the AI is going to give us some sample code to try, and we know we have TypeScript, then let's get it to do that work for us. Okay, so now it's gone back to Mongoose, which is hilarious. But Mongoose isn't just for Atlas, by the way. You could use Mongoose by default. Can you scroll up, please? So one thing to note in this pattern that you should register every time that you're trying to figure something out like this is, sorry, no, that's fine. I don't think, you don't necessarily have to put Node.js there, but you should scan what npm packages it wants you to install. And in this case, you will note, because we're using Nuxt, I did mention this earlier, like, oh, if we didn't have this available in Nuxt, you would have to start a node server, install Express, etc., which is what typically would happen. So it's assuming here that you're going to set up an Express server or what have you. So you do have to become slightly better at like removing the things that don't apply to you, but then you have to kind of know the things that don't apply. Like in this case, you don't want to end up installing Express. Nuxt has that baked in. So in this case, though, because the previous setup was done without using Mongoose, I'd actually prefer us not to use Mongoose, so we get a very raw idea of how to use MongoDB. And so let's see. Yeah, so this is very pure. We're doing MongoDB only. There's some now TypeScripty things, as you can see, interface, movie, extends document, etc. Now, while using plain JavaScript is easier, no doubt, we can still navigate across TypeScript because there are some niceties that you end up getting. But if you feel like it's a challenge and you're like flustered by it at any point, feel free to name, as you were doing, so you did have the right instance there, is like just name your file.js and just use JavaScript code. That's fine as well. But we'll just cover a few more things. In previous examples, even though this code will work, I'd like you to get into the habit of noticing this, is when you had a JavaScript example, it used require as a way of using the library that we installed. But this version is using import. Ideally, we want to use import and not require. This is a pattern. Like, it doesn't matter to the end of the day specifically, maybe not, but as a pattern. So I'm thinking, what if, let's try one more thing. Where you say, how do I store data to Mongo local TypeScript? Can we just copy that and ask our IDE AI? We could leave Node.js and driver out. I'm just curious to see what happens for now. I want to see whether it's contextually. So this code is simpler than a lot of what Google is offering you, probably because like Google's like, oh, you have to set up a Express server and you need this and that. And I like the simplicity of what this has done is it said, hey, npm install MongoDB and then create a mongodb.ts file. Now, because you know that you're going to use the API endpoint to test, you don't have to do that. You know that this code, you have to merge it somehow with your endpoint. And this stuff seems, although it has some complexities, it still seems somewhat simpler. It has your DB name contextually in there. You could even ask it, like, click on your inside data.ts file, and then how did it, like, remember that time that single, like, specific line appeared in, how did that happen? Do you know what triggered that?
So if I highlight something and click chat, I can reference the specific line.
Got it. And just say, how do I write to the Mongo database from this file? Because you're using this file as your test bed, and maybe it could give you code that's more suited to this specific scenario.
Should I
ask it
reference this file?
Yeah, so we got the reference in there. Well, we already had the reference there once you highlighted chat. That was the quick, easy way of doing that, right? And then now you're like, yeah, just ask it how you would do that in the context of this file or whatever the case is, and let's see if it... Well, in this file, maybe, as a more specificity. Although it should have probably seen it, but just in case. So this is a mild cheat where we said we don't want the AI to write the code for us. Although we're kind of getting it to that contextually as a learning technique, we will allow it. And now you can see this example so catered to this test context because it's sort of meshing the event handler with the MongoDB business.
Okay.
Scroll down, please. And maybe, say your thoughts out loud, please. You are thinking something. I have an idea of what you're thinking, but I want to confirm.
Okay, one. How do you know what I'm thinking?
I can tell you what you might be thinking. I don't know what you're thinking. I said I have an idea. I could tell you, and then you could tell me you're wrong. Okay? How about that?
You tell me.
Because then I don't want you to say it and for me to be like, oh, that's what I thought, and then you have no way to confirm. So I'm willing to put myself out there and be wrong. How's that?
Yeah, sure.
You're thinking, hey, what's this connected database business, and what do I need to, like, how does that work all together? That might be one thought that crossed your mind. Maybe it didn't. It's like, hey, how do I, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what's this connect, like?
Yeah, I think, okay, so one, I feel like a lot of times when I'm thinking, it's really hard for me to even express what I'm thinking because it's kind of like scrambled.
Sure.
But that is definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
But I think
I was right. Nailed it. First try.
But there were so many other thoughts.
Sure. Listen, but line number one, come on.
I think, okay, like the previous times when I tried to use, what do they call this? Cascade or whatever, for learning purposes, we often end up in a place of like, here's a bunch of code that you just, throw in.
Yeah.
And one, it's like super tempting to just copy, paste, and see what happens without understanding what's happening.
Yeah. So here's what I'll offer you here. So we'll work through that, how you can leverage this kind of a tool to develop understanding. So now this, what I'm going to say here doesn't apply in all cases, but it does apply in this case where we're trying to learn so many things together. So I'm gonna, and maybe I won't explain how, but I'll just walk through it. Ask it to change the example so that everything is in just this file.
What do you mean?
Just to ask it to change the example so that all the code is in the insert data.ts file. And the reason I'm asking this is now you don't have to go somewhere else. Like visually, all the code that you need is in front of you so that you can process it. And now you're like, now you don't have that like, oh, connected DB is in a different file. Although eventually we'll get there. We want to get there. But when you're just trying to like, so the way I think about it is back in the day, I might have found a tutorial, which we might actually try and do. I know this is like, we're jumping all over the place, but now that we have this, let's go back to the internet and look for a MongoDB JavaScript tutorial as we used to search for.
JavaScript?
Yeah, yeah.
1 second. Oh.
So there's a MongoDB with JavaScript. And what else do we have? Node.js get started. Okay, that's good. Let's open a few. A beginner's guide to using Node.js with MongoDB. Perfect. Just 1 year ago. Well, yeah, let's try it. Let's open up some of these. Let's quickly see a beginner's guide because that's like seems like like someone's written up a Medium post here. Although they again in a lot of these tutorials you have to ignore like you're not setting up Node. You already have that set up. You know, npm you have that set up. Okay, Atlas. Unfortunately, that's another misdirect. It's using Mongoose. Okay, so like, this is too much. It's too much. But if you scroll down to maybe some key point, it kind of becomes as simple as what you see here, which is like mongoose.connect to connect or whatever. But okay, that's not helpful or as helpful as I was hoping it would be. Let's try the W3 schools. This is kind of interesting because it's asking you to install MongoDB, which we haven't done, which we need to do in a second. And then, but if you click next, it's showing you here that you need to write some code to connect to it. So assuming that you had installed MongoDB, just this patch of code is what you would need to get into your file to get it working. You know, like one of the downsides of AI is like it'll give you the whole chunk all together, which is why one, I wanted it in one file. So you're not like going to different places. But the next thing I was going to ask you to do with the AI is like ask it to guide you step by step, like patch by patch. And let's see what it does then, because ideally it should tell you to, and maybe you can even offer it this, like, tell it that you're testing the code by visiting the API endpoint in the browser. And then tell it that you don't want to copy paste the entire code to test it. So you want it to guide you step by step so that at each step you could test whether the code is working. Right? It's essentially what you said, right? Like you were like, copy paste. I don't understand it. Just tell AI your fears and let it guide you.
Please guide.
But also step by step and test in between. Sorry, that was like well, let's see if it does it automatically, but that is like in your heart, it should be a key component. Like you want it to work step by step. Okay, this is very nice. Okay, great. Amazing, right? Because it's specifically asking you to install the package and test whether the package has been installed by just importing the package. Brilliant. Okay, yeah.
Were you gonna yell at me?
No. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yes. Yes, but let's let it happen.
Okay, let's go to the browser. Wait, how do I?
Are you refreshing?
I did.
And what are you expecting?
What am I expecting? I'm expecting insert data, which I guess it is there.
So it's
but I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it show up here. Should
When
I?
you say here, I don't
On
know.
the like on the network tab.
Correct.
Oh wait, that's irrelevant. Okay.
Sorry, no, but yeah, it is irrelevant because you don't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
you know why you don't see in the network tab because it's not an AJAX request.
Yeah.
So what you can do is click doc in this case.
Oh.
Right beside it. So because or you can click all as well. The reason we don't click all in the usual one is like sometimes there's so many that it's hard to focus. But now you can click on preview.
Okay, cool.
And it works all just the same. It's just not an AJAX request because it's not happening. It's just a browser request. Okay, cool.
Aight. Continue. Okay, let's see. Handler async. Where is this coming from?
Yeah. Where is it coming from?
I thought I had. No.
You did.
This...
You had an end file and everything. But this is better.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Because you're learning. Why do you have to go to 3 different files to make something that should be instant working?
Okay. Okay. But like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this just like a default?
Ask it.
I haven't even read everything.
Mm-hmm.
Finally. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so it's the default port.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'm just gonna copy it.
I actually wouldn't recommend that, oddly enough here. I wouldn't mind you copying bit by bit, because even when you're dealing with like a lot of code like this, again, as like in kind of the beginner track, you wanna almost test every few lines of code versus too many. Even though this is not a lot, still, I want to offer you a few things here. So go ahead and copy the first 2 lines of code. You can't copy. You don't have to. You can just copy those 2 lines of code. For some reason, your alignment is not correct.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's weird, because I thought the return was the correct alignment already. No?
I don't know. Like when I typed,
That's fine. No worries. No worries.
when I did that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, why is there an underline between Mongo client? Is that like our on line 4? Okay, well, I guess it might not be a bad one. And let's just try a few things here to see what happens, even though technically we haven't connected just yet. Is on line 5, just type in console.log and then pass in client. And the reason I'm saying this is like, let's just see what happens with just these 2 lines. When we copy paste that many lines, if there is an error anywhere, or if we, log client, and then maybe do a console.log before that, that's just pure text. Yeah. And the reason I'm offering this right now is thus far we've mostly done console.logs on the client side and used the browser console to look at logs. We can do that on the server side and then look at the server logs to see what's going on. So let's go ahead and visit the browser, trigger the code, see what happens. First, let's see if something's broken or if it still works. Okay, it seems to work. And then let's go back and let's see if our logs are anywhere on the server.
Wait, how do I? Would it not be here?
Mm-hmm. I did say something very specific. I said, let's go back, which would imply going back to the IDE. And I said earlier I said they weren't going to be in the console because they're not in the client side. They're on the server side. So now we want to go to our node. I know, like, what, like, I don't expect, like, I actually don't expect you to get it, but like, like it is, I also want to reference historically why I had been specific in the past about something. So now, great, you got your log line and you have this like client object. So we know that much is working. And then let's go ahead and without the try business, although we will copy this code later, but I want to almost minimally like, get to some important points here. The next thing that logically is happening here is really just like the client.connect. So await client.connect. Let's copy that line. And then after this, let's remove our logging of the client because it's like this massive object. We've seen it. We understand that it's there. Okay, fine. And then after the client.connect, let's do a like connected log. Just text is good.
Why is it squiggly?
Hover over it. It just says view. So let's see view problem. Or is there read more? Can you click on that?
doesn't like it.
No, it's letting you know how to fix it. Although in a lot of words, on too many words. You're not gonna, by glancing at it, you're not gonna know how to fix it actually. Like it's too, like you're gonna miss it. It's so subtle, you're gonna miss it.
Insert data.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible. Let's right click or hover over the await again. So that's what happened when you click read more. What happens when you click view problem?
Did you mean to mark this function as async? I'm trying to remember. There was something that we discussed earlier in the session, but I'm also
yeah, we didn't specifically go over that pattern actually. So, and it is very weird in a sense, but anytime you call await in a function, you have to let JavaScript know that this is an async function, like that it's going to run asynchronously. And so in the way you do that, sorry, not there. Not that it's completely, totally wrong. I want you to know, Mary, that's so wrong. You couldn't have been wronger. I want you to let you know. Okay. So the place where, now, in this very case, like this is a very common thing. Sometimes when you start a function, you don't know that the function is going to be async at this point. And you do the await, it gives you the error. Now, if you hover over the await again, there's another option we didn't do, which is like quick fix. And go ahead and do that. And let's see. Did it do it? Or yeah, it did it. I don't know. It seems like you have to do some extra clicks, but it's done it. And do you notice the change that it made? You might be able to do a Command Z to see.
Like what happened?
And then is there a redo? Command R? I don't know. I guess I'm probably not Command R, but okay.
I see.
Keep doing that. Yeah. So
okay, I see.
What's happening is we're passing the defined event handler function another function. Okay, and that function is the function that needs to be defined as async. It's a nameless function. So that function needs to be async, and that's what we've done.
I see. Yes.
So typically the await async pattern, like as you're naturally coding, you're gonna miss the async every so often, and the quick fix is good enough for like that pattern. It's like your ID will take care of it for you. All right, let's just test this portion using the console.log business that we have going, and then we could do this try catch business, because the problem here is like, I don't know how familiar you are with try and catch, and I didn't want us to do three things at once, which is get MongoDB working, learn try and catch, and like, so.
Okay, I saved it. Just refresh. Okay, cool.
Okay, so it's connected. Now, the try catch business, are you familiar with try catch pattern in JavaScript?
Maybe it's not like, it's not try catch, right? Like the specific words used, or is it?
Yeah. Well, they're right on your screen in the example.
Okay, I'm not familiar with try.
Yeah, those are the exact words. So it's got try, and then at the end of the try block, it's got a catch, and at the end of the catch block, it's got a finally. You don't always use a finally, but typically when you're using a try block, you will have a catch. And the idea there is that Ruby does this, Python, a bunch of different languages. They throw exceptions or errors. They like throw them in such a way that it blocks, like it gums up the works of the code. So like the error occurs, and then it breaks everything, and it doesn't run the rest of your code. And certain functions we know throw errors. So the connect function does throw an exception. For example, if your MongoDB server wasn't running, then the connect function would fail and it would throw an exception. And your code wouldn't handle it because it doesn't like the error in that case would show up on the web page directly. But if you want a nicer error, so we could simulate it actually. I think if you now I'm doing this out of memory, it might not work and we might need to dig into it. But this is just us explaining what try catch does in effect by throwing a manual error. So the way you throw an error in your own code is maybe below line 6. So on line 7, let's type in throw space and then a string. Any error message you want here, like sorry or whatever. Just not sorry, a string. I said
a string. Is that this one?
String does not start with braces.
Is it just this?
I think it is, but if it's not, we can mess with it.
What are we doing? Oh, error.
Yeah. No, sorry, this might not work because it's not. This is more Ruby-ish. Your instincts were moderately correct here, but not precisely. But let me just double check the code. I think we do have to create an error object. Yeah. Sorry. So no, you can actually throw strings. This does work. This does work.
So what's supposed to happen?
Let's run it and find out.
Okay.
Why ask a question which we can test? Can we see what happened in the browser? It seems like your browser wasn't shared. Okay. So there's an error in your browser specifically here, right? Like it says, hey, and then what was your error message?
This error message.
Got it. Yeah. You could, that almost looks official, like, can you go back and just do la 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 in there? Just so we know it's like not official. And just so cause I want to, my brain almost skipped error message because I was like, oh, is that like an official thing? But so effectively browser side, you're getting this error. If you click on doc, there's a whole lot of JavaScript coming up here because, so insert data, you'll see the status is 500. And then, yeah, in effect, and then it returns all this HTML because we're in dev mode and it's trying to, it's showing you the code and everything because it's trying to help you figure out where the error might be happening. But typically once in production, it won't be as gentle. But the idea being, if you go back to headers, that, if an exception is thrown, that's a 500 server error and it breaks everything, right? So now you have a concrete example of what I was talking about. If there's an exception thrown and certain functions throw exceptions, and the try catch block allows you to capture those exceptions and handle them gracefully. So let's, around our, on line 5, go ahead and type in try and then space bracket. And then on, let's delete the close bracket there. And then let's put the close bracket on line 10.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, on line 10. I'm not following the example, Mary.
Oh, no. Okay.
You can highlight a few lines and press tab.
Okay.
Okay. And then we want the note that, okay. Actually, no. Go ahead and place. Go ahead and place the semicolon there and see what happens.
Wait, why is it wrong?
We'll hover over it.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So a try always needs a catch or finally, which is why, like, you'll notice that when I talk about it, I don't say try, I say try catch. Always, like, those two are so tied together in that learning process that it's like, so go ahead and remove the semicolon and add the catch block. And the catch block you pass in, so like, you can sort of copy what's there. So it passes in an error, and then let's open the bracket, close the bracket, press enter, please. And let's just console.log the error. So, I like how we still haven't stored anything in MongoDB yet, but we will very soon. Sorry. Let's console. So below on, like, after line 11, let's also console.log the error object.
Wait, what? Okay. Yes, right. Error.
Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and run this again.
Okay. Here.
So now, even though the exception is being thrown, you still get results because we're handling that exception in our code. We're capturing the exception, and then it goes into catch, and then that code gets executed instead. So let's go back to the code. But you can see below, the console.log says an error has occurred, and la 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 in the node. So you know what the code flow is. Note that console.log connected never ran because you don't see connected there. So when the code got to line 8, the exception was thrown, and then the catch block code was executed. And so line 9 never got ran.
Okay.
And so similarly, that's what would happen if client.connect didn't run. You would it would go into the catch block. Now, if you read the code in this example, it should ignore the finally bit, but just read through the try block and the catch block. It should feel like you have a sense of what it's concretely doing, and maybe you could describe that in words.
So is this a shorthand for this?
No. No, you're so off, Mary. It's
ridiculous. But like, okay. But like,
yeah. So throw la 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 triggers an exception. That's all it's doing. It's triggering an exception. It's not. But when you say is it a shorthand for this, you highlighted error : error message. But no, that's not, like, those are two different bits of code entirely.
But how does the error connect to what's thrown? I guess, like,
yeah. What's thrown gets detailed into the error object because an error was thrown. So JavaScript allows you to, like, get access to the error. that was thrown.
Okay.
And when you console log it, it's that message, but errors can be a lot more complex as well. So that's what the connection is.
Okay.
Error.message is simply giving you access to the error that was thrown.
Okay.
So in the code on the side, it tries await dot connect and then returns true, success true. But if client.connect fails, it goes to the catch block and it ends up returning success false and error.message. Now, we didn't do that. Like, we didn't put returns in our catch block. You could, but we didn't do it. I feel like reading this code that we did here is slightly condensed because, like, I don't want to mishmash different concepts happening. We kind of did client.connect without the try catch. It worked, which is why we never needed the try catch. So yeah, go ahead and remove that. And then for now, go ahead and remove that. We can even do this kind of pattern if you did not want to do two different returns in your code, which I don't love. Let's do this. On line 5, create a const called status. And let's just say equals, not const, let. It has to, because we're going to change it. So instead of replace const with let, please select space status equals, and this could be a string actually. So make it the success message by default. And then in the catch block, modify it.
Okay. Status. I don't remember how anything works. Oh shoot.
Are you in a place we can't see? Because I can hear you typing, but I don't see the.
Yeah. I'm just Googling.
It's okay.
Is it not? Oh.
Yeah, and then let's return that in our final single return statement. Let's have a status property inside our return object. So like after line 16. Sorry, did you just remove something?
Do I need this?
You should have it.
Okay.
Like, because you don't know what error is being thrown. You're not like, you don't know anything. So of course we need it because what if an error is thrown? How are we gonna figure it out?
Okay.
What we don't have the specific error.
Okay.
What are you, a coding genius? Yeah, we need it, Mary. Sorry, this is the worst. But yeah, go ahead. Online, keep the insert data. Yeah, we don't have to get rid of that. And now return the status additionally.
I'm always trying to remove things for some.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we doing? Return status. Status?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Okay, let's save that and let's test it out. So we're inside an object. We can't use semicolons inside an object, right?
Okay.
Right?
I resized my Chrome accidentally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah. So now we expect to see status being included. So status connected. Because we by default we did. So we could have said status. I mean, if you want to be more precise, if you go back, please, to the code. Yeah, we could start status as unknown, and then we can make it connected after the connection happens. That's a bit more precise, although this is also functionally correct. But these are patterns that you can use yourself for your own testing. Like even if you weren't returning that information for your own testing purposes, right? Like I did some code, did it work? Let me store the value, especially if you're using a web page as a testing flow. And now this will work the same way. And then you could simulate if you want. We don't have to, but if you want to, you can simulate by after line 8 adding your own throw, which would simulate a throw happening through client.connect. Actually, no. Let's actually simulate the real thing. No, simulate. Let's emulate. Let's do the real thing by changing the port. So just change the port to like add an extra 2 numbers, whatever, random numbers, or yeah, whatever. Yeah, there you go. Save and let's run this. I would have thought unable to parse. Oh, because we have too many, because the port numbers don't go that high and it has a correction there. So yeah, let's just modify it to like the 7 to a 9. Because in this case, note that an error happened on a line that wasn't in our try catch block, which is why we got this, which is why it wasn't handled gracefully. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Wait, right? Because otherwise our try catch block would have handled it. But it didn't because
it never got there.
No, line number 4 is not in our try block. Like if line number 4 was inside our try block, then it would have been caught, and then we would have seen something else.
Oh, I see. It's just taking a while.
Yeah, because it's actually trying to connect to the non-existent server, and then now if you look at the logs that have your error message, it's like some detailed error message on how connect failed, right? If you also wanted, you can also do this. And this is actually good for learning. Like I know we're like spending a lot of time on this, but like you will run into errors as you're coding on your own. You will run into issues. On line 12, put a space inside the string after error, or like a comma, or like a colon maybe. Sorry, inside the string.
Oh, inside.
And then a space, and then outside the string a plus, and then error.message. So effectively here, we've done, in a sense, what your example code from the AI did without having 2 returns in the function. I find the 2 returns kind of confusing. I like this where like there's 1 return at the end and everything is handled inside the code separately. Is easier for my brain to process because I don't have to look for 2 different return points in the code. That's just me. It depends on the function, but in this specific case, I feel like what we have here is a bit more fluid. Let's go back and in the browser and run this. And now that error message should be in the browser, so you don't have to necessarily come back to it'll take because it's probably retrying. It's like, okay, maybe the server will be, it's looking for the server. Come on. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now your error message is additionally there, right? So now your server side has like a detailed blob of errors, but your basic error message is now also coming through. So as you're testing, you're like, okay, cool, blah 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 blah. Okay, got it. All right, how are you doing for time? Because we can finish this. Like, it won't take too long now. Hopefully, where we can write and read from the database. That part should be simpler.
I'm good for time.
Okay, let's ask the AI to like maybe highlight lines 8 to 10. Because we didn't follow its code, so I don't want to like highlight lines 8 to 10 in your code, and then chat with the AI to go to the next step from here. Because we didn't follow its code, so you just want to make it aware. Sure, we can't see what you're typing.
Oh, shoot.
Or where you're typing it.
Oh, what? That's super weird.
I see the browser. I do see the...
I think I see what's happening. No? What the hell?
Is it for like frozen at a previous...
Yeah. What? Okay, let me try to...
You could maybe unshare and reshare. That might...
Yeah.
I'm just going to browse the internet. It's LinkedIn. I'm browsing LinkedIn, and it's so insufferable. Like, every post is just so like...
Uh-huh.
It makes me want to barf.
Why are you still on there?
Force a habit. Because in my heart, I want to be famous, right? Remember? And I feel like there's a potential opportunity.
Do you want to be LinkedIn famous?
I want to be anything famous. Anything good. Famous.
What do you do when you're famous? Like, what's the plan? What?
I want to be I want to feel it in my heart. I want to be it and feel it. It's not so much what I do; it's who I am in that moment, which is famous. What's so disgusting about LinkedIn is all these like single line paragraphs.
What do you mean single line?
Like a post is like every line is like 8 words, like 3 to 8 words. Like, people don't write in paragraphs; they write in single line paragraphs. Every paragraph is like 8 words less than that, and then it's like, and then this pattern, which I really despise in LinkedIn, is like, it's not about execution, it's about elevation. Like some kind of like, oh, it's not about raising money, it's about keeping money. Like, oh, stop, please. Like, every post is like this. Like, people think this is good. Sorry, okay, I'm done. All right, and you're ready here.
What was the last thing you posted on LinkedIn?
Is this a call out?
Maybe.
No, mine is very nice, actually. I'm a manager who doesn't do regularly scheduled one-on-ones with my direct reports.
Oh, that one.
Very clean, very direct, not a whole like spiel. Were you hoping to expose me as a person, as a hypocrite?
Maybe. So do I need finally? It's telling me I should have finally.
Yeah, at some point. But you know what? In order to appease it, let's add the finally bit. Let's do it.
Finally.
You should close your connection.
Or what? I don't know. Like, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna get arrested?
Employees, yeah. MongoDB employees are gonna be there and be like, "Hey, Mary," they're gonna like knock at your door and be like, "Hey, we just had a report of an unclosed MongoDB connection. What's up?"
Okay, let's make sure it works. It works.
But to answer your question broadly, it depends. Sometimes in certain scenarios, connections get auto closed, but in other scenarios, there's only a limited number of connections. So if each request is opening a connection and never closing it, it will eat up the server's connection space, and then you'll run out of connections to be made to that server. So yeah, scroll up. Now it's asking you to insert data into the database.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and copy the bits of code.
What? I'm trying to understand what this is.
The insert ID?
Yeah.
Well, read through how it's being used. Scan through.
Is it like almost like this is the chunk that we want to add, and like it's attached to almost like the job? The task?
I'm not sure any of what you said. I've been doing this for 20 years, Mary, and I have no idea what you just said. I know what you're trying to say, but it's so like I could interpret 30 different ways. I think I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know what you said.
Okay, so the game has its ID.
Mm-hmm.
Inserted ID.
Maybe let's not worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just run it, see what happens. And I would highly recommend this. Like, you should not, when you're learning, get stuck on what insert ID is. That's a waste of time. To be honest, like, if I was your teacher, I'd be very strict on it. I'd be like, Mary, what are you doing? Like you're gonna spend 15 minutes trying to understand what insert ID is or guessing at it before you even run the code. Run the code. Like, what might become obvious in 3 minutes. Like, why are you trying to derive it?
Okay.
Which is a pro tip. I would say understand the code after you've run it, not before. Also, it depends. If you're hyper, like if this was the first time you're learning code at all, then yeah, spend some time reading the code, whatever. But some effect of this code we've already run in the MongoDB console, right? So it should not be entirely unfamiliar. It should be somewhat unfamiliar. And therefore, you could run this and then come back to... I like how the AI also removed insert data. I would keep it till the end. Like, if this was me, that insert data I'm sticking with it. But you could feel free to It'd be like, like I feel like something's missing.
I like how it just like doesn't even mention that it removed it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Let's. Okay. Is there anything else I can do here?
No, it says it's inserted.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving forward.
What does this say? Verify.
It says, hey, go to the shell and verify that the data is there. Let's not do that, actually. Tell it that... tell it you're not going to do it. Tell it, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's write a read data endpoint to see if it works.
Read?
Yeah, like, so because we have an insert data endpoint, let's have a read data endpoint. Or show data, or whatever you want to call it. So it's giving you like a one-shot file. And now in this case, I feel very comfortable copy pasting. Where before I was like, hey, there's a lot there. Now in this case, we could probably copy paste, see that it's working, and then get to understanding it.
How are you liking the music?
Do I love the specific music itself? Maybe, maybe not. But I like that it's present, oddly.
How
do you feel? But how do you feel about its presence?
I don't mind it, actually.
Yeah, I don't mind it either.
Now that I'm used to it.
Yeah. I feel like it makes us feel serious. Like, like like we're actual streamers. It feels like we're
streamers. Are we serious?
Yeah, we're like serious streamers because we have like this background music playing. It feels like I'm like
the background corporate music. Is this corporate? Yeah, it's corporate.
Yeah, I can change it. Hold on.
No, that's what makes it serious.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You can change the mood.
I changed the ambient. I don't even hear anything.
No, you don't hear anything?
Okay. No. Just the first few seconds.
Okay. Read data. What's count? What? Okay. Oh.
Read the code.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So it's getting a list of.
Can we see the code, please?
Games.
Yeah, so count is just games.length. I don't know why there's a underline under games. Is that because it's not typed? Yeah, implicit any, that's fine. Can you do a quick fix on that, please? Just so we don't have that underline. And I think all that will end up doing is like, yeah, it just adds any. We don't have to worry about that right now. It's just ignore that. But yeah, let's start here because this is a simpler almost bunch of code, and maybe just walk through the code to build your understanding of what this is doing.
Okay. So it's connecting to the database. It's finding the specific collection, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not so much finding it as it's kind of, I don't know what the right word is, specifying it. Because at this stage, like, until you do a collection.find, the collection is just like a concept. It's not like it doesn't matter because, like the collection might not even be created at that point. We're specifying, letting the code know that we're going to be doing something with the collection, but not necessarily it's not like going somewhere to find it. Same thing with the DB. But until we do db.collection, the DB concept isn't activated, let's just say, in this specific scenario.
Okay, so it's defining it.
Yeah. Well, defining
the reference.
It's referencing. Yeah, it's creating a reference. That's perfect. Yeah, it's creating a reference that will be used later.
And then it's finding the data.
Yeah. And there's like a .toArray thing, which is interesting because it seems like whatever's returned is not quite in an array format initially. That's what I gleaned from it. What format it is, it's probably some like object, like some Mongo object format, which then converts to pure JavaScript or JSON when you do .toArray. That's my assumption, but that's fine.
Is this just saying like finding everything?
Yeah. Because otherwise, remember, like previously, we had like a find based on ID or find based on game ID, etc. And then, I mean, the rest of it is boilerplate, right? This is like the error, whatever, and then it returns the count. Let's go back to the browser to see what it returned. Note that there's two instances because you probably hit your insert endpoint twice. And it ended up inserting two of them. Can you specify? Remember this whole like insert ID business that seemed confusing? Reading this, does it become slightly clearer? It doesn't have to. We can walk through it, but I'm curious whether now like something is taking shape in your mind as to what that might be.
So it's the ID of the insert action. Insert.
Not insert action, quite.
Insert.
You could be more precise. Because look, in fact, you should negate what you said yourself because we're not in the insert data thing. So what, like, you know what I mean? Like no inserts have happened here.
So it's a part of the inserted data.
Yes. So what's happening here, something that most databases do, not all of them, but most of them do most of the time, which is when you insert an object, they have their own internal ID field that they manage. Sometimes that maps to your own ID. Now, in this case, MongoDB has an _ID field for every row or every document that is inserted. In your Postgres databases that you've used before, in the existing whose breakfast is it, each table has an ID column by default. And the database is responsible for managing that ID. Every time a new row is inserted, it will increment or it will create a new ID one way or another. MongoDB doesn't quite do a precise increment, although this is kind of an increment, but it's a string ID instead of a numeric ID, as you can see, it's like FC, whatever. But it's a unique ID for each document that you insert in the collection or each row that you insert in the table. Most databases do this most of the time. And typically, because right when you insert the object, you might want to do something with it. So the database gives you the ID of the object you just inserted, which is why it's called the insert ID. It's like, so you're right to think it's about the insert action, but it's not so much about the action. It's about the row, or it's about the document. It's a document ID, not an insert ID per se. Like the document ID now is persistent with that document. It's a unique ID for that document.
But okay.
Yeah.
Why is it? So is it always necessary?
Is it always necessary? Always is so broad that no, it's not always necessary, but it's necessary most of the time for most of the things that you're doing. So yes, it's always necessary for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like unless you specifically know what you're doing and you're like, I don't want a unique row identifier for any of my rows. Yeah, you could do that. Absolutely, databases allow for it, but it's highly not recommended.
Okay.
There's certain cases where you have join tables that don't need their own unique ID sometimes. But again, for most things, for most simple things, you need it. In this case, game ID is not a unique identifier. It's just another property it's just another column. It's just another thing. So it's like, that could be anything. How's the database supposed to know? So it's like, we didn't specify game ID as a unique. So if we define game ID as a unique entity, we would still get the database's unique ID as well. What we would have to do is define game ID as the primary key and a unique primary key, and then it gets used as the ID. But in this case, really what you want to think about game ID is as a game code. It's not an ID per se. It's the code that you enter to access the game. And the game ID should be whatever gets generated by the database.
Okay.
So, but ultimately we've done MongoDB insert and data retrieval via an API endpoint. And note that we did it without the client. Like we did it clientless. Like we didn't write any client-side code. We did it with a browser client, but not with like a coded client. And again, like I hope it makes sense why we spent all that time kind of disconnecting that concept, because precisely with debugging or testing or whatever you want to do, it's actually helpful. Otherwise, like imagine having to like write specific client code, or like now there's an error in your client code. You know, it's just like, why write more code than you have to test it? We could have written a command line file to test it as well, but I kind of like the browser aspect. Like we didn't have to add another concept as like the command line concept. We haven't used that before, so I'd rather just like leverage the concept that we've already done. We haven't run a node file through we haven't run a nuxt node file through the command line. So like, why add that?
Yeah, I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, well, yes, to you, yes. Yes, at this stage, yes. But eventually we will do that. But I'm just saying that as a catch-all, in case, you know, like other people end up watching the stream and be like, why did they use a HTTP endpoint to test all their code? Because it's simpler, folks. Okay, we're not Puritans here. We don't care. We don't have to add another script. Who cares? Relax, calm down. Anyway, so we did inserts. We could do updates later, whatever, or as homework, write an update, like update an existing row, update one existing row and change its subject or change its question, right? And then the next step really is connecting those concepts to then take user input and create game endpoint or whatever, like, you know, and update game endpoint, read game endpoint, and then use those to. But now effectively you have everything. You have the examples to do end to end, and then kind of pass variables in instead of hard-coded stuff.
Cool. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. But I do want you to take away is like, regardless of how experienced you get, that hesitancy will always be there. But you have to find ways of like swatting it away. Like, of course you don't like. like anytime I'm doing something I don't know the thing I'm doing, but you have to like piecemeal it, be like, okay, well, we're just gonna try this. Does it work? Oh, okay, cool. And just build on like brick, step by step, brick by brick. And you don't have to understand everything that you code.
So I think one pattern. Sorry, I'm gonna switch.
Yeah. I was going to do that too.
One pattern that I've run into in the past that's frustrating is like when I look at tutorials, etc. I find it challenging to figure out which pieces are relevant and which pieces I should ignore, or like not apply to what I'm working on. And I mean, it feels like it's just something that will be picked up over time, but
it ideally will develop over time, but kind of going back to one of the things I was saying before is like, oh, sometimes you do want to create a new project, and that was kind of the essence there, is maybe you just follow the tutorial end to end. It doesn't have to be integrated into part of your, like, you could separate the learning part from the building part. It takes more time. That's where you're giving up, right? You're creating a different context, you're learning different things. It may or may not be a distraction. Now, as your awareness improves of the bits that you actually need, right? Which is what I do now. Like, I'm not following tutorials end to end all the time, but as a beginner, I did that more often than not. But as a non-beginner, now I'm like, oh, let me just test that bit in my context, or let me just test that bit in a different context. Does it work? The problem with tutorials sometimes is they get outdated fairly quickly, and then now you're following a tutorial into and it doesn't work at all. So there's all these traps, which is why God invented AI. So
I did not see that coming.
So that's why, because it's like, oh, all these tutorials are outdated. Let's, let me just ask my AI instead. Yeah, okay, but it will make sense over time. I will also say this one thing, which is, like, we went through a lot today, obviously, and a lot of it you don't have to know all the time. In fact, many developers with many years of experience sometimes don't understand how HTTP works, or know that there are different HTTP methods other than like get and post, for example, right? Like, because people aren't doing that extra click to even glance through that document, read the documentation. But the flip side is, you shouldn't be reading all the documentation all the time, because you'll get no work done. So there's some, like, I'd almost prefer not knowing the in-depths of HTTP and just like getting something working, but then going to learn the depths, versus like staying in the depths and then avoiding, like getting stuff done. Okay, we did it.
Cool.
First try.
All right. Well, thank you. I guess we'll be back next Friday.
Be back. We'll see. We don't know. We don't know what day we'll be back. But we'll keep this going, and it is sort of slowly carving a statue, but we'll get there.
I have wanted to like work on it in between, but just,
well, there was more hesitancy there. There was like more gaps to fill at that point. But right now, currently, I can tell you that you do have most of the steps, or most of the Lego blocks you need to like make a form, submit the form, save the data, edit, like all those things are available to you now. Delete.
I feel like I need to like work on it right after a session.
Fresh.
While it's like
or
fresh,
or
just like
here's a radical idea. Or you go back and you reference the video that we went through together.
Oh my god.
And you have it available as a constant reminder. Radical idea.
Get one exactly. More view.
Exactly. But actually, in half seriousness, that is available to you. Like, it doesn't have to be, forgotten in a sense. It's like a recorded experience. So do leverage it. But yeah, like, But right now, it should feel like very close. Like it should feel like you almost have everything you need to actually build the rest of the app for the most part, right?
The rest of the app, I don't know about
The rest
that.
of the like saving, yeah,
The little
bits
piece,
of the app,
the first
yeah,
piece,
bits of
yeah.
the app. Like you could make considerable progress with the building blocks you currently have, right? Yeah. All right.
Cool. All right.
We'll see you next Friday, hopefully with a fully completed app. Given what we've done so far, Mary's on it. Don't worry, it'll be ready. That's a promise from me to you. All right. All right. We'll see you next time, folks. Good night, and let's go home, everyone.